Greetings everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing is a Resident Evil review. We're doing a second part to this. If you want to watch the first part, there's going to be a link down in the description, the first part of the main game. This time, we're going to tackle the side stuff. The two side content of Resident Evil 4 Remake. It is Resident Evil Separate Ways and the Mercenaries mode. We're going to talk about both of them each. But of course, first let's start up which is talking about the Separate Ways, which basically is the main thing and the meat potatoes. So enough wasting time, so let's get on with the review. What I think of the story of this, the story is actually really good, and I think the story is handled a bit better. And if you guys don't know, the history about Separate Ways is basically a side campaign that follows around, you play as Ada Wong, the same Ada Wong from Resident Evil 2. After the events of Raccoon City, she's working with Wesker, and she's tasked to get the amber, to give it to Wesker. That was definitely her job, is getting the amber, and she's basically seeing what Ada's been doing behind the scenes while Leon was traversing throughout the main game of Resident Evil 4. And the story's pretty good, and they add a lot of new elements to the story, and they don't just copy paste the exact same formula of the original Separate Ways, which came with the game, by the way, because Separate Ways actually came out, the original Separate Ways came out with the PS2 version, and basically to the PS2 version onwards. It wasn't there on the GameCube version. There's a little bit of the history behind the Separate Ways originally. So I think, to me, it really showed Ada as a character for a little bit. The dialogue and of course the delivery of the voice actor is not the best, but she tried her best in this one compared to her original game. She at least tried her best when it comes to the whole thing. And they really showcased Luis a lot in this, and showcases a lot of his character in this one, a lot of his personality, a lot of his character. He's played Leon was not a main character in this, of course. Leon's a side character. So the main characters in this are Ada and Luis. These two are the two, of course, main characters of this campaign. And so in the game, you go through basically the majority of the areas. While there is some new areas to explore, completely new different areas to explore, and definitely different, and there are some areas that are basically, copy-paste from the main game. And the biggest story change compared to the original to the remake is Ada was infected with Las Plagas thanks to the Black Robe, or the U3, which is a boss, was in the original game, was on the original game, the main campaign in the original game, but now as part of Ada's, one of her Ada boss fights. So she was infected with the Las Plagas, which is a lot more different than was in the original, because the original she wasn't infected with the Las Plagas. That's why the reason, most enemies like regenerators doesn't come after her. However, in the remake, it's a little bit different. She was infected with the virus, and basically the Black Robe is kind of a stalker kind of character for a little bit, at least the first half of the game before fighting it, and the final few chapters of the game. And it's a really good story touch to seeing Ada dealing with the parasite similarly to Leon, pretty similar to Leon, of course. She basically the virus, the serum that Luis gave to Ada, of course, spits out her parasite. And she's basically, went through and got the parasite sample. And there's a lot of differences in this one. Krauser has not got any conversation with Ada whatsoever, but still, he was still playing kind of a similar role in the original game. Is Krauser working with Sadler, and then Krauser is as well working with Wesker, at the same time to get the amber. If you guys did not know, in the original game, Krauser, was tasked by Wesker to get the sample from the original game, And it was kind of a bit of like a race between Krauser and Ada between both, because Krauser was playing on both sides of the coin, but it was mainly working with Wesker. So yeah. And plus, Sadler did not trust Krauser in the original, but I think in the remake he trusts him a little bit more because he's kind of a bit of a follower. And plus, Krauser kind of supplied the weapons and arsenal, like the Gatling guns and everything, from Krauser to the Ganados to use against you. And I believe the story has been ending up on a very good note, and we see Wesker a lot in cutscenes and a lot of codec calls, and they were like, and plus, especially the ending, which I'll not spoil to it, the ending is really fantastic, and you should definitely watch it. So you should definitely watch it. It's a really good ending, and it's gonna set us up for the future of the series, and hopefully some other good things along the way. It's really good, and I really like it. From the gameplay standpoint, is Ada has some of the original weapons from the original game, while also having her own set of weapons, like the shotgun and the bowgun. Here, a little bit difference is, in Ada's campaign, you could actually upgrade weapons, buy a bunch of you have more guns, you have upgrades, there's a trade system, and all those from the original game. And it's really good, and her gameplay is pretty fun and pretty enjoyable. She has multiple melees, her melee attacks are pretty amazing and enjoyable to watch. She's good when it comes to range, because she uses the grappling hook. She uses the grappling hook as as one of her melee moves. Because I was thinking that the grappling hook will be a weapon on its own to use against the opponent, but I don't think so. Similarly to basically how Ada, she used the EMPE module in Resident Evil 2 remake when you play as her in one section. So that's what I was thinking, but apparently it's not the case. So it's not the case about that one. So, and she has some 2 rifles, plenty of handguns to go around, and a lot of things going for her. And it's really good. It's a really good game. There are some new areas, of course, but there are some areas that were not in, kind of brought back the trolley section that's similar to the original game. The part in the village with Leon, you had to go into a kind of a trolley from one place to another to get to Torres Mendes. They brought it back here. It's like a little homage. It wasn't, it's not as epic as the original, but a little something like that. The laser room has making a return, which is, from Ada's side point, I can understand they give it to Ada, which is pretty cool. I like the the animation of dodging is pretty cool. So it's a pretty cool throwback to these sections. And the soundtrack, of course, is very similarly to Resident Evil 3 remake. They just remixing some of the soundtrack. They full-fledged remixing the soundtrack from the original to the remake to from the original to the remake. Similar to the original game, the main game. The main game did some, not all, but some soundtrack. For example, like Torres Mendes, all that stuff. But it's pretty cool, and there are some pretty cool sections with Ada with the castle. It's a pretty cool section. The gun turret section as well on the island, which is a pretty key highlight to me, and I love that section so much. We had to dodge the lasered gun turrets, and you had to go through a bundle of Ganados. It's pretty similarly to kind of like the backup level with Leon in the original. Kind of like a similar way, which up to 5-4. So it's a pretty good section. I actually like it, and it's not really scary. Of course, it's action packed as usual, so it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool section. Overall, it's a really good DLC. Honestly, even though I wish it was free, it's $10, so it's not gonna be too bad. But it does get your money's worth to some degree. It does give you money's worth. So the DLC is pretty good. Now for the next DLC, which is the Mercenaries. Yep, we're back to our Mercenaries mode. Resident Evil 4 birthed the arcade style of the Mercenary series and become a staple of the franchise became the staple of the franchise for the last, for almost 2 decades. Now we're basically back to the game that kind of birthed the arcade style Mercenaries. If you guys don't know what the Mercenaries mode in Resident Evil 4, in the original Resident Evil 4, or basically in RE5, RE6, you pick a character, you go through a stage, and your objective is to get as much points as possible and kill enemies to get points. The higher the points, the higher the ranking you get, and that's basically it. And you unlock characters as you go through the mode. You unlock characters, you unlock new stages with new enemies. Every stage there's a brand new enemy type. There's a brand new enemy. Like you have the castle, you have the village, you have the island, you have the docks. The docks was an added area in the DLC, the update for the Separate Ways DLC. It was actually an update for free. And we have a lot of playable characters in the remake compared to the original, because the remake has about 8 characters while the original has 5 characters. So it's a pretty fun mode to mess around with, and you'll get definitely a special outfit once you get like S+ on every character. You'll get the RPD Leon outfit as an added outfit in the DLC. It's free, so you can just get it once you're done with the mercenaries. It's a very fun mode, but I wish there were like more stages. I wish they give us like a bit more stages, because honestly, like once you play those stages, it will get old. It will get old pretty quick if you continue playing the same stages over and over and over. Even though it's fun, and I believe this is by far the best mercenaries in the series, because the gameplay, couple the gameplay with like how the enemies work, is perfect. It fits perfectly, and hopefully it plants the seeds for a future like Ultimate Mercenaries mode, because I would love to see a Ultimate Mercenaries. It'll be a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable, and it's gonna be great. And the Mercenaries mode is like, in general is amazing. I wish there was like a multiplayer mode, what could have been amazing. Could have kind of kept the game a little bit more on the way. And I wish for more stages, or harder stages, very similar to Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Village had like kind of like a Veils of Shadows version of stages. I need similar thing to that, a bit tougher, a bit harder requirements, or like a No Mercy. But I think the No Mercy version for RE4 remake Mercenaries will fuck up the system. It will not work. So yeah, I think the Mercenaries overall is a very fun mode, and it's enjoyable, and I always bounce back. So yeah, that's basically it. There's not really too much to talk about. It's the DLC, the story mode DLC. Like for a DLC will take you about a good 5 hours to complete. By speedrunning, it might take you 2 hours by speedrunning. So it's a real good DLC. It's really good, really enjoyable, all that kind of stuff. So that's it. There's not much really to say about the DLC. It's pretty short and easy and sweet. The Mercenary is pretty fun and enjoyable. And yeah, that's basically it for the review. So, like, conclusion, a very good DLC. If you have the money for it, go ahead, buy it, and it's really good. They're probably going to be like a special, like a Ultimate Edition, which having the DLC and everything together. So once that happens, get your hands on it. It's really good DLC, and it really gives you more insight on Ada's like perspective in the game, which I would highly recommend playing the Mercenary, the Separate Ways. The Mercenaries, a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all it, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit a like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.